Everybody's on stage. We are doing this, Curt. It is 10:32. We are starting.
Dan Bigger, we're on the spot.
We did it on time for you. We're going live on LinkedIn here, and then we'll get going. So here we go. It's about 6 seconds, and then we're ready.
Happy Friday.
All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka. With me, I've got Curt Anderson, partner in crime, co-host, the person that knows the most people in manufacturing e-commerce. So let's kick it off, Curt. We got a great guest with us today. We're going to do some stuff. We're live on LinkedIn. So if you're listening on LinkedIn, let me know where you're listening from. I'm watching the comments over here, and we're going to get it going. Take it over, Curt.
Damon, thank you, brother. So, man, where would I be without you, dude? I'd be completely lost. So, guys, Damon, exit your way. He needs no introduction, but the man with the plan, the exit strategy specialist. Damon, thank you. Happy Friday. I want to give a huge hello to my dear buddy, Dan. I wore the shirt for you, just for you. Dan Bigger's in the house. We've got Don. And so we go from New York all the way to Alaska. We've got Don, Aaron, our friend Gail, Chris Harrington, Val Weber, right in my backyard. Guys, what an honor, what a privilege to introduce our guest today. So, Elena Garuc, welcome. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. What a great introduction. Happy Friday to you, and thank you everyone who's watching.
So, guys, Damon, are you sitting down for this? You got to sit down for this. So I'm going to like Elena has accomplished so much in her young career. So Elena, sit back. I'm going to rattle off a couple things here. So Elena is the executive director of FuzeHub. FuzeHub is the New York Center MEP for statewide MEP. She has won the 40 under 40 top leadership award. Do I have that correct? Am I close on that? You are. And you know what? And Damon and I had the privilege and honor of working with quite a few MEPs throughout the country, as you know, Elena. I'm going to say this is the first time that I've met one of the founders of an MEP. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, in a way, I'm a founder of the FuzeHub non-for-profit, and we are the MEP, so there's no guarantee you'll always stay an MEP. It's a competitive process, but I am a founder of FuzeHub, yes. Founder of
FuzeHub. So this is the first time that we've interacted, I'm going to say, with a founder of an MEP. And we're going to dig into what the MEP network is. And Chris, Gail, Aaron, Val, you guys are going to absolutely love this. So FuzeHub is founded by women, and run by women. And so I did a little research on you. And so that was wonderful. Graduate of College of St. Rose. And share a little bit about, I have a bunch of questions. Let's dig in first. Tell everybody a little bit about the MEP network. For those that aren't familiar with the MEP, how it works and the benefits for manufacturers.
Sure. Well, the MEP stands for the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. It's a national program funded by NIST. MEP is the program. There's one in every state in Puerto Rico, so there's 51 centers, but there's about 358 service centers across the U.S. Because there's typically one contract per state, and that could be a government agency, a non-for-profit, or a university. And so what they do is really help manufacturers stay more competitive. There are a wide variety of services. I'll just say a few. There's so many, I don't want to lose any, but just helping manufacturers reduce cost, improve efficiencies, help with workforce challenges, create new products, find new products. That is really the goal of this program, is to help small and medium manufacturers, provide them the resources they need to grow and thrive. And in New York, we're a little unique. I was telling Curt earlier, Empire State Development, our government agency, is the MEP Center, and it's very beneficial for New York State because they also contribute to the funding of the MEP program, which allows 11 centers across New York State, 10 regional centers, one in every region, for manufacturers to access these resources, as well as a statewide center.
Nice. Awesome. And so couple things I want to share. This is super exciting. What an honor and privilege, Elena, that you guys, I believe you won an award through the Albany Business Review. Were you voted top places to work this year?
Was it this year or last year? It was recently. I'm losing time because of the pandemic, but yes.
COVID's a whole blur. It looked like it was 2021. I thought I saw an interview. And so what an honor, what a privilege. And again, at your young age, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, how you landed in. Let's start with, how did you end up in manufacturing?
Okay.
This whole manufacturing world, if you will.
Yes. Well, I always like to tell everybody I'm not a manufacturer, right? I'm a marketing, but I make programs. So then I kind of say, well, I do manufacture programs and services and help. But I started working at one of the regional MEP centers, and it's your basic economic development organization. And I was leading programs to connect technology companies from biotech to software, and creating a lot of entrepreneurial programs, just getting companies connected to the right resources. I was in charge of rolling out new programs. I was in charge of marketing and events. And then I had the opportunity, I was there for about 12 years. So I saw hands-on what the MEPs were doing. My direct report was the director of the MEP Center, Jeff Lawrence, who unfortunately passed away. And if you're familiar with FuzeHub, you'll know that I named our $1 million fund and in his honor for all the work he did for manufacturers across New York State. And so I was at the regional MEP for about 12 years. Got the opportunity to join my co-founder, Laura Mann, on a concept of just finding resources for manufacturers that know where to look and really connecting them to the right technology experts. And that kind of idea spun into a whole non-for-profit organization, which is now FuzeHub.
Nice.
Awesome. So though marketing guru, marketing expert, you found your career path with manufacturing. I also admire, I've had the honor and privilege, been working with your team. Steve, we're tight with Steve Melito, of course, and that's how my connection with you. And Steve does a great job describing how the MEP network came into play and try to help manufacturers be more competitive with foreign competition. So again, as you've, and it's wonderful seeing young talent like yourself coming into our manufacturing world, if you will. Talk a little bit about, what inspires you, what's driven, how would you label or describe your leadership ability that you've built this amazing program from scratch? And I believe you're up to what, like 12, 14 employees now?
Yeah, well, our team, we're mixed with some consultants and part-time, but I always, when I got the opportunity, it's a funny story. I didn't really apply for the position. My co-founder was the executive director. She resigned, and I was the only employee at the time. And the board said, give it a year. I cried. No, that's not me. And here I am 5 years later, because I realized a lot of building FuzeHub and running a non-for-profit is a lot of the things that I've done in my career, creating these programs to help companies. It doesn't matter if you're a software company, if you're in manufacturing, if you're, in another sector. Find a way to create these programs, understand how to fund them, bring people together, understand the marketing, understand the rollout, and understand how to measure the impacts. And that's really what all our programs do. And so I just took that skill set and put it into everything that we have been assigned to do as an MEP center. There are certain deliverables you must do to receive that funding. And so that is a large part of our charter. But, we are also doing a lot of other initiatives. We're getting funding from other agencies. And so, we're really looking to diversify that portfolio so we can continue to be assistance for, companies of all kinds in New York State.
Awesome. And again, and what I admire, I'm friends with a number of folks on your team that you've put together. So again, you've attracted, you've built, you've developed this dynamic team. You guys are over this 5-year plan. And again, that testament of, Albany best places to work. I mean, that's just such a credit to, again, your leadership and what you've done at the MEP. How do you track like a Steve Melito, a Kim Lloyd, like these amazing people that that are on your team? How do you track those folks?
I don't know. It's so funny. I always look around and I'm like, how could I be so lucky to have such a great team? I honestly say that, I think, as someone who's the executive director, you're constantly thinking about the organization and you're always worried about it, making sure there's money in the bank. And I honestly think some employees feel the same or as passionate about it as I am. And I don't think that's as common in a lot of small, non-for-profits. Yeah. So I had met Kim originally, Kim Lloyd, who's on our team, as many of you know, and through her, I found Steve Everton, who's on our team. They've sort of been in the network. We do a lot of interviewing for some of our positions, and it's really important for us to find people that are passionate about economic development. I would say, not everybody can have a career, because at the end of the day, this is all economic development, manufacturing, marketing, but that's what you're doing. So they have to be passionate about it. They have to understand, sometimes the hours are long, there's travel, but they have to really understand the mission. And I think just providing a good culture at FuzeHub just makes us a great team in the way we interact. I roll my sleeves up with everyone. Nothing's beneath me. I get right down to I'm still doing admin work. I'm not that kind of leader. And I think that keeps us strong.
Awesome. And our dear, your biggest fan is with us today, Dan Bigger. He puts a little, I love Steve Melito. I think we all love Steve Melito. He's awesome. And I'd love for you to connect with Chris Harrington. She's in the crowd today. She's the president of Gen Alpha. It's an amazing e-commerce software platform for manufacturers. We're very close. They do amazing work and solutions for manufacturers. So let's talk. Not necessarily change gears, but let's talk a little bit. Again, I'm a manufacturer. I'm down in the trenches on a daily basis, putting out fires. I've just survived COVID. Safety. PPP loans. Everything that's going on this past year, and I'm not familiar with my local MEP. What's a situation what would you encourage that manufacturer to reach out to? What types of situations are they in where they should be contacting their MEP immediately for help?
Sure. Nationally, I try not to go out of the way they position the services, but there's three main areas. There's business growth, which is anything from exporting to marketing and sales, workforce, and product design and development. Mm-hmm. Then there's business improvement, which is your supply chain, your lean, your adoption of I 4.0. And then there's this risk mitigation, which big right now is on cyber. So those are just the main categories. I do think that the MEPs like to be a trusted advisor in anything manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And many of them. Some of them are former worked in manufacturing plants. So they have that hands-on expertise, and now they're just moving it into a more service-oriented opportunity. So I would say, if you're not familiar with the MEP program in New York, there is a website. We all are. There's one in every region. But because we're all non-for-profits with separate names, the best thing to do is go to www.newyorkmep, spelled out, newyork.org. Find your region, find your MEP center, or you could just reach out to FuzeHub and we will make sure you get connected to your regional center. But I wouldn't say wait till there's a problem to reach out to your center.
Yeah, right.
To know them. I mean, even if you don't have a problem, they're constantly doing events, webinars. There's new programs, new funding opportunities from time to time. We do have grants we give out. So get to know them, get to know what they have, get on their mailing list. And that's just a really good way to kind of engage.
And that's a great way to segue into this next question. And I do have to digress 1 second. So I'm a little bittersweet with Steve Melito, because as Dan Bigger puts in the chat, Steve Melito actually helped Dan land his new gig. And it's an awesome, Dan and I, we had the privilege, we had dinner together recently. And Dan, congratulations, dude. We are so happy for you. What a wonderful opportunity. But man, we're sad New York is losing a gem. And what an ambassador and what an advocate for manufacturing. But let's talk about grants. Sometimes there's such a misperception on grants. Help clarify a little bit, like what are realistic or reasonable grant opportunities that manufacturers could expect calling on an MEP?
They come and go. I would say, right now, the MEPs around the U.S. received money from the federal government during COVID from part of the CARES Act. So we had grants, about $10,000 each, that certain MEPs were running to help companies produce PPE, or a company that had a technology to help sustain the lifespan of a PPE product. We have some grants. There may not be any left. We're getting to the end of this program, but to help companies that are looking to reshore, that's a big issue. Supply chain assistance. And then just other grants for companies looking to do more virtual training with their employees. So those were kind of more, those won't be so ongoing. There are opportunities where your MEP center can try to find funding for a service that they could provide for you. It's not guaranteed, but a lot of the utility companies sometimes, as part of their economic development programs, support National Grid, NYSEG. They support those projects because they have a mission to help manufacturers grow in their economic development. A great partner of the MEPs is the Workforce Development Institute, WDI. They're very similar to the MEPs. There's one in every region. They provide small grants for manufacturers to do training, buy equipment, help create jobs. So, really depending on what you're looking for. And I should also say cybersecurity. We just got done funding 67 companies with cybersecurity grants to help them get cyber assessments. So there are pots of money, it's not always there, but we do try to find some funding to offset the cost of some services.
Let's continue on that one for a second. So the cybersecurity is just such a huge topic. We were blessed. Yeah. We had Celia Paulson from NIST was on our program several months ago, and she's the cybersecurity expert at NIST, and she was amazing. Can you just explain a little bit on those assessments, or what your role, or what information you I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's full blown, because as an MEP center, cyber is just being pushed as a need. But in addition to that, we also were funded through a grant through New York State that came from the Department of Defense. As you know, a lot of the cybersecurity requirements are really being driven by that agency now, and it's expected to expand, where there's actually requirements being put on suppliers that are part of the DoD supply chain, where you have to have your NIST. I always have to look this up because I get the codes wrong. But NIST SP 800-171. They're coming out now with the CMMC, which we're trying to get companies towards, which is the cybersecurity model certification. So our role is we create a cohort. We're getting these companies the assessments they need. We're working with our cybersecurity experts up in the Mohawk Valley MEP Center. AIM is the name of the MEP Center there. They're the cybersecurity experts for New York State. And we're trying to find companies to get these assessments and just take them through the steps of what they need to do to make sure that they don't lose any contracts with the Department of Defense.
Wow. What a phenomenal resource. And it's so intimidating, and so many manufacturers, Damon, we talk about this weekly, where that entrepreneur, that manufacturer needs to throw on a different hat throughout the entire day. Yeah. At 9 o'clock, they're HR. At 10 o'clock, they're operations. At 11 o'clock, they're finance. 12 o'clock, maybe I have 5 minutes to do some marketing, so then you throw in this whole cyber risk that they've never had to deal with in the past. And it just gets, as we work, we're doing some programming with different entrepreneurs, manufacturers, what we hear constantly, it's just like they're in a silo, they're on their own. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn. And it's just such a blessing, such a gift to have the MEP network, to have those trusted advisors. And so, Elena, I want to slide into, I had an honor and privilege of doing a program with you a month ago, and our friend Rachel Rosen was on the program, and she's just phenomenal, startup manufacturer, Rochester, New York. And she's like, you know what? I went to that program because it was the MEP, and I knew it was going to be good, and I trust their content, their information, and it was well worth it. So again, I loved it. I thought we had a wonderful crowd. It was great feedback, so on and so forth. Talk a little bit about the marketing. I know you have like a summer series marketing program that you're putting out. Talk, a little bit about the marketing initiative that you guys have that you're feeding manufacturers here in New York.
Sure. So for the last 5 years, we've been in startup mode, because we were formed in 2013, just doing a lot of work creating programs. And a lot of the work that FuzeHub does is marketing. I mean, that's my background. It's like helping manufacturers connect to resources, marketing New York State's great assets, and then managing this $1 million fund. And so we said, we kind of had an aha moment with all these companies that were coming to us and all these startups that needed marketing services. So we're trying to build that out, and come to find out a lot of MEPs around US are already far ahead of us with kind of creating some in-house services and also partnering with some small marketing agencies to provide these boutique services. But so we're on that path. We have a lot of expertise. I mean, I have probably 3 people on staff right now that have 20 plus years in marketing, and specifically helping manufacturing companies.
Right.
So just to sort of kick that off, we're doing a summer series. Curt, you're one of our partners. We'll kick off in July. It's on our website, and we're just really trying to get the word out there about the types of marketing that you should be looking at, and then trying to bring companies in to see if any of our expertise can help them along their way.
Yeah, and that was great. And what I loved, the program that you guys put together in May that we did, and again, that was our dear friend Kim Lloyd and yourself and Steve Melito. We're calling it like that "do it with you" concept. And the feedback, it was just so wonderful because, we do a lot of webinars and they're wonderful. And what I refer to our webinars, as you guys can tell, I get it like Elena was like, yeah, Curt, you talk with your hands. I grew up with a bunch of Italian guys, but I get pretty worked up and fired up at webinars. I did a couple this week, and man, they had huge crowds. We're so excited, but I call myself, I'm like that crazy uncle comes in and like get your kids all wound up, feed them sugar, and then I leave. And they're like, okay, now what do I do with these crazy kids? So like the webinar, they come in, they're like, man, this was awesome. You got me fired up, but I just felt like I drank from a fire hose. I still don't know what to do. What I love what you guys did, it was a 3-hour workshop where we did breakouts, and then it was like hands-on. And so these folks could actually leave with tangible, strategies that they could apply to their business. We had a great feedback afterwards. How are you seeing, like, as far like that transition from webinars to like more that workshop model? How did that come about, or what are you hearing from your clients going that direction?
Yeah, I think, everybody says so many webinars and everything. I think people are looking for more of a hands-on experience. And until we could kind of do that in person, we moved to more of a workshop to go in the breakout room. So, the experts can talk to the companies one-on-one. So they felt a reason to show up. Let's face it, we've all signed up for webinars and blew them off. I'm sure some people have to say. But, the workshops, I think, allow some more accountability. I think they feel, someone is responding to some of their needs. They get to ask questions to the speakers. So, we just like that format a little bit better. And if it was in person, that would be the model anyway.
Right, exactly. So again, you guys do an amazing job. You've been here for a number of years. Could you share, do you have any just amazing success stories, like game changing with manufacturers, where what the MEP can do for manufacturers? Any specific examples or success stories that you want to share?
Yeah, I did want to share just an overall. I can just find where I have it down here. I just want folks to understand, if you're not familiar with New York MEP, the kind of economic impacts that this program provides, and this is just for New York. So in 2020, the work of the MEPs with New York State manufacturers resulted in over 6,000 jobs, new and retained, and close to $994 million in economic impacts, which include increased sales, new investments, and there's one more, cost savings for these companies. So the impact is real. I have 2 quick success stories because we were just talking about cyber, and the regional centers have really great success stories because their projects last longer. They're several months. They kind of go into the companies. They become a part of the team. Ours are a little bit more shorter and sweeter because we kind of make a connection, or we find a resource and we see that blossom. But one, we were just talking about cybersecurity. We worked with a company, Pavilion in New York City, through some of our programs, and they were able to keep a $500,000 DoD contract because of the cybersecurity effort that we gave them. Otherwise, they would have lost it. So we actually have that on our website. We did a press release. They gave us a nice testimonial. So thank you, Colin and his team at Pavilion. And then another one just recently was featured on the local news, Tidy Tots. They make disposable diapers. Our team has been working with the CEO for many years, just trying to help her find certain contract manufacturers. The New York MEP recently funded them a $10,000 PPE loan for PPE because they pivoted and they're continuing to make gowns. And these gowns can be washed up to 300 times, just to keep your costs for the hospital. So she was featured, and they're full blown, and the money is being put to good use. So those are the kinds of things that we try to do.
Isn't that awesome? And I want to make sure I wrote this number down right. What was that number on impact?
994 million.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, from running manufacturing businesses for most of my life, you know, I didn't even realize that MEPs were around. And I mean, I just not in one state. I've done 6 or 7 states across the United States, and literally across the United States. And I never even knew they were around. And for manufacturers that are listening, I think the one thing is find your local MEP, talk to them, like you said, ahead of time, because then when something comes up, like you need money for maybe a lean improvement or something changes, like you're talking about and I won't get it right, the CMMC or whatever, the DOD stuff that they got to do now, you know, it's a big deal if that's a large part of your company. And there's companies out there that may have been doing stuff with the DOD forever, and they have no idea what they need to do. So they don't know the resource, and then they're not a huge company, so they probably don't have the money to do it. Or even if they do have the money, why not try to see if you can get a grant to help fund what you're doing, to help offset some of the costs? I mean, I just think the MEPs, for the people listening, they really need to meet them, go talk to them, figure out what the heck they're good at and what they can help with, because they do have good resources that you can use. Yeah,
that's true. They like to we call it the best kept secret, right? And I think I'm actually on the National MEP Marketing Committee, because, you know, they realize the program is a wonderful program, but the way it's structured, every MEP program has a different name, and it's not always, you want to know they're an MEP program. So you really kind of have to start at the top, and we're trying to position ourselves better as a network. We were doing a great job. You know, we try to cross collaborate. I work with a lot of other states and vice versa. There's a lot of platforms being used to really just kind of interconnect us and get more manufacturers through that funnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
And that's a great point. I hadn't thought it. And again, because we work with quite a few, and every state is different. So like Nebraska is at the University of Nebraska. Montana State is in the state of Montana is parked at Montana State University. Some are nonprofits. I think Virginia is, through the Commonwealth. Every single one has a little different component or a different animal. And I hadn't thought about that until you said it. And so there is a little bit of a disconnect as far as like that universal, overall nationwide branding. And it's funny you're saying that, Elena. So as you know, I talked to a lot of different MEPs. And for those of you out there, like Dan knows, I have this little book out there called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. And everybody I talk to, the MEPs are like, man, we need to give our director your book, because we say that about ourselves all the time. We need to stop being the best kept secret. So, and you're doing an amazing job. And that's what I like, the FuzeHub model. And we talked about a little bit before, Elena, where I feel like FuzeHub is unique. I'm not familiar with many other states that have like that a lone arm that's, marketing the state, in that capacity, the way FuzeHub does. And then you partner with those regional. Now, a lot of states, a lot of our friends here are, Wisconsin or in the Midwest, IMEC in Illinois, where they have one MEP, but those regional centers, but it's under one umbrella. Right. So I like how FuzeHub goes out. And so then if somebody's in Buffalo or all the way out on Long Island, they can tag team or work together in that capacity. Right.
Yeah, and it's good too for us, because we were able to attract, we try to attract additional funding to the state in a statewide approach. We like to roll out new programs and initiatives. Dan's been to a lot of our programming, and so just to be able to have that statewide approach, and we bring in the regional partners, and we don't just stop at the MEPs. We work with a lot of state-funded assets, the universities. I think I don't know I forget if I was talking to you before or I said it live. The R&D universities are a big part of our resource network. They're actually some of them are on our committees, just getting manufacturers to the right experts, other incubators and other kinds of accelerators and economic development programs. So we have a very rich resource network in addition to the end.
Yeah, that university network, so in New York, we have the SUNY, it's a state university in New York. It's a very prominent, university network. Stony Brook is kind of cutting edge of a lot of technology and what have you. And what's one thing, and I know we're coming into time here, Elena, one thing that I wanted to mention was one of the first things that during COVID last summer, you guys did an amazing virtual event. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, it was more like one of my first virtual trade shows, and, we're in the heart of COVID. And I was a little bit skeptical, and I went to it and I thought you guys absolutely crushed it. It was on this platform that we're on here, Remo. I met Damon and I had a privilege of interviewing Teresa Stockton from TAC on Monday. I met Teresa. I met Dan, just talked about Carol and Jeff at AM&T. That's the Binghamton MEP. I met Carol and Jeff that day. So talk a little bit about that. How did that virtual trade show come about? And do you have plans, or what's your future with virtual events like that?
Yes. Well, we did like 15 in 10 months. So I don't know exactly which one you're referring to, but
yeah.
We did a lot of matchmaking events. That is probably one trade show like. And our other events are, meeting the resources. So it's either B2B or, manufacturer to resource. We are going to go back to in-person for those ones, but we are going to still do a hybrid. Our first in-person will be August 11th in Central New York with the the TDO, which is Central New York MEP Center, excuse me. But we're going to use Manufacturing Day and do a regional event, but we're also going to do a statewide event for the students who can't travel. So I think the COVID experience still allows us to use these platforms like Remo that work well. But we're kind of excited to get in person. So I don't want to downplay the fact that we like to take a little break for the online stuff as much as we can, but it's still going to be there.
So a good hybrid model. So last question we'll leave you with. So what's the future for you? What's the future for FuzeHub? Like, what do you see on the horizon?
Well, as we talked about, marketing is it's a passion of mine. It's something that, I really would love to continue to expand upon and grow and really help manufacturers in that area. And we are looking at our Jeff Lawrence Innovation Fund, how to grow and expand that. Funding for technology development and new product is so limited in the everyday world. COVID, they had a lot of different grants and stuff out there, but just funding that type of work, we just don't find a lot of funding opportunities out there. So the more that we can attract into that fund, the more companies we can kind of help move their technology forward and then grow and expand in New York State, or obviously benefit the U.S. So those are some of the main things. The last thing I'll mention is we're having a New York State Innovation Summit. Nice. In Verona, New York, at the Turning Stone. So if you're familiar with New York, it's one of our casinos. In person, in 2019, we had over 500 people and 100 exhibitors, all companies that are New York State. So if you are in technology or manufacturing and you have any interest in New York State, come to that event.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome. Boy, this is wonderful. So as Damon knows, as a girl dad, I look up to you, Elena. I admire you. It's just, for a father of a young girl, it's like you've paved a way for so many young women. You're breaking ceilings. You're an amazing leader. You're doing a great job with FuzeHub, starting this basically from scratch and put out this amazing statewide program. So thank you for what you've done for our state, our community. Thank you for what you do for us guys with teenage daughters that have you to look up to. So, and most importantly, thank you for taking time to join us today. It's been you're truly a gift. We appreciate you. And so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Guys, thank you for joining us today. We wish everybody an amazing, amazing weekend. Go out there and just keep crushing it in manufacturing, crushing it with e-commerce. Yep. Reach out to your MEP. Elena, thank you. Any last words? Any last thoughts?
No, just thank you. And it's an honor. And thank you for all those kind words. And, thank you, Curt, and to Damon for today's time. I appreciate it. And I'll be in the tables if anybody wants to ask me any questions or reach out to me directly.
Please stick around. Damon, take it away, brother.
All right. Well, Curt, Elena, awesome discussion today. People in the chat love it. Sneha and others that are commenting on LinkedIn, So happy for that as well. I believe, Curt, we're taking next week off because we got an important holiday weekend coming up.
We are taking a Friday off to celebrate our country's little 4th of July weekend, and so we're coming back in 2 weeks. We have some amazing guests coming up. So Elena, as a matter of fact, I dropped Elena's I dropped FuzeHub and Elena's LinkedIn profile in the chat. Please connect with Elena. We have some great speakers coming up. We have Allison Levine coming up. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She's Elena, you would love her. She led the first women's team to ever climb Mount Everest. She's climbed the highest peak of every continent, and she's written an amazing book. She has a great TED Talk, great leadership. She was a professor at West Point, so she's coming up in July. But again, we have people like Elena come on our show, and it's just such a wonderful privilege.
I'm glad I didn't follow that one.
So you'd be great in line with her, trust me. So guys, so thank you. And please join us at the tables. We're gonna have a chat with Elena, and we appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks so much, Curt and Elena. Once again, we're shutting down on LinkedIn Live here, but remember, we are here every Friday at 10:32 Pacific, 1:32 Eastern. We're on for about a half an hour. We got great speakers like Elena talking about manufacturing e-commerce and trying to help people grow their businesses and run better businesses. So thanks for listening to us on LinkedIn. We're shutting down there, going back to the tables here on Remo.
Thanks, guys.